Our next speaker is Dale Tyson from Blythe, California. And Dale drove up here yesterday. I happen to know that's a 12-and-a-half-hour drive to be with us today, so we're really indebted to him. He had been farming for 38 years in Blythe, and Blythe is a place that you never want to visit in July or August. And yet his production, he didn't start out to be a farmer, he started out to actually contract purchases of hay and ship them overseas to the Asian markets and to the Middle Eastern markets. And he needed high quality hay, and he just couldn't get farmers to step forward to produce it that way. So they were stuck in their traditions, and so Dale had to become the farmer, he and his partner, and they became premium hay growers, growing Sudan and alfalfa and teff, and to me this is a mind-boggler, Bermuda, for hay. And have marketed that around the world, and it's such high quality that they remain in demand. He's about 12,000 acres down there in leased and owned ground now, starting as a farmer 30-some years ago with owning no land. And a number of years ago, a former student of mine who was chairman of the board of the Metropolitan Water District heard a podcast I'd done. He reconnected, had me speak to Metropolitan. Dale came and said, that's what I need, regeneration. And Dale's going to even give us some demonstrations today. He's the most recent convert to building soil health. He knew it's what he needed, and now he's a teacher of youth and telling them how you build soils. With that, I'd like to welcome Dale Tyson.
Good morning, everybody. I really enjoyed Scott's presentation. He touched on a couple of things that I've experienced, which is I chased the yield god for 35 years until I met Dr. Lascelles. Kind of had an epiphany and it changed. But I'll tell you, it's really hard to get off that input treadmill where you want higher quality, higher yield and stuff. And, you know, I'm a conventional farmer. I should say I was a conventional farmer, and I would spare no cost in trying to improve my soil. And I worked at it for about 35 years and never really improved it until the last 4 years. And I'd like to start with doing a demonstration with the students and stuff while I'm talking. And you can see the transformation of my soil, which was breaking up those really hard dirt clods and seeing earthworms in the field. I asked Dr. Lascelles the other day, actually yesterday, I was like, where did the earthworms come from? They've been missing for 35 years. How did they find my regenerative field? So if you'll give me a minute to help the students set up, and then I'll continue with my presentation. Yeah, this is the same field. We farm this regenerative and conventional side by side. This has been plowed, ripped, disc. I think Dr. Daly says BTS soil. This has barely been touched with just a no-till planter and what we call a carrier, and we'll see a picture of that in a moment. Ladies, if you'll, we're going to do an irrigation event. Yeah, you can just go ahead. We do flood irrigation, so you just pour it in. And probably before we leave here today, we'll have that. But this ground has been worked. And the thing we have in the Palo Verde Valley is lots and lots of water and lots of heat. And the standing water evaporates. It scalds our alfalfa. We'll see some pictures of that. And you can see with the regenerative soil, it's coming right through. Now if we can do the dirt clods that Mr. Scott spoke of. Yep. Yep. So this one is regenerative soil, if you can place it in the water, and then conventional soil. And again, the same field, side by side. Soil erosion. You can hold it up if you want. Yeah. Just remarkable. Again, the same field, side by side, just the management practices has changed. Okay, ladies, thank you. If you want to hold these up. I couldn't bring you all to the farm, but I brought the farm to you. I'm an alfalfa farmer, and this example I think is really important, is what I'm seeing in my regenerative alfalfa is it's a little bit behind the commercial alfalfa, but that's because of all the input costs that I've put in, all the fertilizers that I've applied to it. But this is, again, the same soil. The only difference is this has had 3 years of regenerative practices, and this is conventional. The only thing that we've done is applied water. It's just the same canal water and stuff like that. No synthetic fertilizer or whatever. And you can see just with the soil by itself how much more robust the regenerative alfalfa crop is. And then one thing that really surprised me was we went and got return flow from the irrigation water, and look at the difference, the regenerative water. There's a lot we need to learn about this, but this is really incredible to see how clear it is. We actually drink that, and this is coming from a synthetic, commercially farmed alfalfa with the applied commercial fertilizers and stuff on it. I probably wouldn't drink that. Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much. So, as I'm giving my demonstration, if you just keep an eye on our presentation, keep an eye on that. So, a little bit about our history and how we get started. And I, too, am technically compromised here. Let me see if I can figure out how to work this. Okay. So, this is Palo Verde Valley. We're in the most southern part of the state. If we got any farther south, we'd be in Arizona. And this is our irrigation district. My irrigation district thought it was important that I pointed this out, is that we have the most senior water rights in California along the Colorado River. Our valley is 104,000 plus acres, and we are in Riverside and Imperial counties. And I will mention this, while we've had the most senior water rights within the state of California on the river, all that's changing now. We have negotiations with the new guidelines on the river that are due in 2026, and while we're priority 1 today, we don't know what that's going to look like in a year and a half from now. This is our valley. It's kind of divided by Interstate 10, and these orange areas is our farm. This is our 12,000 plus acres. Here is what we call, in the yellow, Chico 1. It's here and here, and then Chico 2 is here, where we have our alfalfa, regenerative alfalfa planted. And so a little bit of history about Heyday Farms. We established the company, me and my partner, in 1986. And like Dr. LaSalle said, how we got started was we got really great encouragement from the local farmers as 20-year-olds. And what they said is, if you want high quality, light color, we were growing grass, not the Canada kind, the other kind, Sudan grass. Our business advice and our inspiration was, if you want that type of quality and have it baled dry so you can ship it, do it yourself. And we heard that half a dozen times and stuff like that. And that was our motivation to go out and lease the worst ground in the valley as two young 20-year-olds, and that was the only thing available. But it just, luck would have it, at the time, that worst ground produced the highest quality Sudan grass, and that really was our launch pad for taking off into farming. So we started with 640 acres. Today we're over 12,000. Done a lot of stuff with universities throughout our career in the Palo Verde Valley. Groundwater consortium of universities with BOR, alfalfa stressing. In our valley, because we have priority 1 water, everybody likes to come and visit us and take that, like the big cities in Los Angeles, San Diego, and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm gonna go real quick through this. So anyway, we've done a lot of projects and stuff. And in 2020, we started with Metropolitan and Chico State with our Chico 1. And then we followed that up. We liked it so well, we followed up with another one, it's Chico 2. And then we did 800 acres of minimum till alfalfa. I love tillage. I love tillage. I bet you my plow is bigger than your plow. I'm a former John Deere addict. I love green tractors. That gentleman in the picture here is about 6'3". We made that plow, and we were bound and determined we're going to bring up that sand and that heavy clay soil and stuff like that. So we weren't afraid to put the input costs in that. And I think that's one of the things about regenerative farming is this is shock and awe. I mean, everybody will drive out to see that plow working, but nobody comes out to see my regenerative field or my multi-species cover crop. They're like, they drive right on by. Only takes 2 500 horsepower tractors. That's all. Yeah, 1,000 horsepower. Because you know, if one plow horsepower is good, 1,000 must be better, right? That's chasing the input gods. You know, not to be denied. So here's some heavy tillage work that we were doing. Here's some ripping, and then that's the finish. And that's how. It's amazing to see Scott's presentation with all the mulch on the ground and stuff like that, because that's not how we grew up. We like this smooth as cake, boy, just beat the ground up and get it ready for planting. And that's how the dirt clods that I brought with us here today, and you can see in the demonstration. So conventional alfalfa, is there any hay farmers in the audience? Then I can boost my yield. Anyway, this is some of the challenges in the Palo Verde Valley where you have 110, 115 degrees. Your alfalfa is getting scalded by the water because it doesn't percolate down. Then the alfalfa field grasses up. And that's a distinction I want to make is there's alfalfa growers, and we really don't make that distinction between high quality and just alfalfa. And it takes us, for us in the valley, our water is unlimited. We can put 25 acre-feet of water on. We don't pay for it. We just pay a flat fee. So for us, if we have a problem in the field, add more water. But anyway, this is some of the challenges we have that we're trying to use regenerative farming instead of the big plow to solve. So why regenerative farming? Resources. The Colorado River, Lake Mead has served our valley for the last 100 years. It won't serve us in the same way for the next 100 years. We have to figure out a way to become more efficient with our water supply. Scott, this is one of the implements that we use to overcome the challenges of planting into a mulch, if you will. It's a carrier, Vanderstand, and that's really helped us work maybe the top 2 or 3 inches of the ground to make a seedbed to go into a commercial hay crop or wheat crop. And this is kind of what our equipment looks like, and that's a chopped multi-species cover crop, and we're using a no-till planter on that. And we found using the carrier that was in the picture before really helped us to get a good stand of wheat or alfalfa. And again, there's a picture of the multi-species and how after it's been chopped. So it's chopping. That's how the soil looks after we run the carrier through. Been 35 years since we've seen an earthworm. I brought a few today if you want to take a look. But anyway, we have earthworms now in our fields. This is a look at just alfalfa coming right out of the field, how the regenerative alfalfa plant responded compared to the conventional. I will say today that the conventional has outgrown the regenerative alfalfa because we have pounded the synthetic fertilizer to it. And here's a look at the alfalfa. Here is this was actually Wednesday before I came up. This is the conventional alfalfa, and here's the regenerative. And again, that's side by side in the field. And just to give you a couple of numbers about trying to make that conversion into cover cropping and how you compromise your income and stuff. This is how it looked with the conventional on wheat ground preparation, $367. Here we're at $72. And if we go down to the slide, you can see some of our fertilizer costs. So a total of $26,000 compared to $9,000, quite a bit difference in the input costs. Irrigation's about the same. We got $266 for our wheat crop that year. We totally outproduced the regenerative half of the field. We got 4.29 tons of wheat compared to 3.31. So our total income was $42,000. Scott, you touched on that's $32,000. But if you look at our input costs, we were at $23,000 with the regenerative. That was the money I get to keep, put in my pocket, and $15,000 with the conventional wheat. So that was a difference of $194. But I have to tell you, I spent that $194 with a cover crop, a multi-species cover crop, to improve my soil and stuff. So this is, now we follow that wheat crop with an alfalfa crop. Alfalfa is our cash crop. That's what makes us the money. That's what allows us to do what we do. And so we just planted that, and we're very excited to see how that compares with the conventional alfalfa. But if you look at the input cost on alfalfa, $419, $72 with the regenerative. The fertilizer, we are fertilizing the regenerative alfalfa, but we're doing it at 50% of what we would do with the conventional crop. So today we have $15,000 in the tillage and alfalfa. Well, I should say a total of $21,000 and $5,000, and we're going to cut that field probably tomorrow. And we'll look at the yield, and so we'll study that field, and we'll look at the quality, the yield, and compare that, and hopefully we'll be able to provide that to Chico State throughout the growing season for over the next 2 or 3 years. And just the challenges, income, that's a big challenge with regenerative. Cost, and really big factor for us is equipment, because you just can't go to your local farm supplier and find a roller crimper or the carrier. So it's a challenge to figure out what type of equipment will best serve your multi-species cover crop or your regenerative farming practices. Mistakes, if you're afraid to make a mistake, don't do it. It will humble you, regenerative farming. But learning, if you like to learn, do it, because you will learn a lot with transitioning to regenerative farming. And then for us in the Palo Verde Valley, it's not really a big interest of regenerative farming because we've got other things to distract us, which is the yield god. And I just want to point out, water use, the reason I got interested in regenerative farming was because I was trying to reduce my water consumption on the farm. This isn't just the result of regenerative practices. This is the result of attitude. When you have free water, or not basically free, $80 a year is our cost on water in the Palo Verde Valley, our attitude of water is basically use it or lose it. And so anyway, we changed our attitude a little bit, and you can see as being a hay farmer, we were above the valley average of 9.8 acre feet. We changed some of our cultural practices. And mainly, we changed our attitude about water, and we reduced our long-term alfalfa with the scald and stuff like that, and we dropped down our water use to below the valley average, and we're still a hay farmer. And this is some of the results of that, 12 acre feet compared to 8.4. We went to short-term 2 to 3 year instead of 3 to 5. And that's kind of a comparison of no-till alfalfa with a conventional alfalfa. And I really want to point out, if you've never done no-till alfalfa, we're going into our 3rd year. Our yield, pretty comparable, 11.99, 11.09 on the regenerative alfalfa first year. And that 2nd year, 9.6 compared to 8.4. That's a lot of data. We test every cutting for quality. And my final slide is a picture of somebody's grandson during the Dust Bowl. Soil quality was an issue 100 years ago. It's still an issue today. A regenerative alfalfa field, much brighter future. So with that, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you.